Good evening, fellow feminist chickens. First of all, apology is needed. I haven't been on your screens or on your radar for a very long time. I know it's such a loss. How have you been getting on without me? Hope you're all doing well, etc. So basically, what has woken me from my slumber, my feminist ranting slumber, has been an article published in The Independent, which quotes an article from German newspaper or magazine something, Der Spiegel, in which well-known German artist Georg Baselitz, I believe, Baselitz, correct me if I'm wrong, was quoted to have said, "The problem with women artists is that they can't paint." So basically, in this quote, he is not just saying that female artists today can't paint. He's not just using a couple of examples of artists whose art he does not enjoy. He is actually dismissing the whole history of female artists ever to have existed and to have sold their works as being shit. So, on the surface, this is a very sort of juvenile, no, we're better than you kind of remark, which in adult, reasonable discourse is obviously going to be, completely debunked, right? No. This is my problem with this sort of event in the art historical world. And I think that it really shows where we are at in our culture today in terms of how these kind of remarks are received and given publicity. So essentially, Georg Baselitz, he's a German painter, as I've said. He's got quite a large back catalogue. He actually says in his interview in Der Spiegel something along the lines of, male artists have more sort of brutality and kind of virile creativity, and thus this creates better work than female artists who have more love and sympathy in their works. This is not an unusual opinion within the art world. Somebody else has been known to say that there is no first ranking female artist, and there never has been, whereas there are first ranking male artists. There are only second and third ranking female artists. Of course, probably the main reaction to this is, what are you getting so worried about, Emily? This is just one man's opinion. It doesn't matter. He's allowed to express his opinion if he so wishes. But this isn't really my problem with it. Georg Baselitz can say what he likes, essentially. What my problem with it is the fact that it has been given such precedent, that it's been given such a platform, the fact that it has been publicised and allowed to be commented upon. It's allowed to generate a discussion about it. And, well, this sounds quite strange, but I don't think that these sorts of things should be allowed discussion. You are completely and utterly disregarding half of the population, which may seem quite a frivolous thing as art. I know some people don't put much store by it. But the thing is that the fact that he has made this opinion, which is clearly untrue, it's just untrue. Like, there is no argument which could prove him right. There is none. Anyway, regardless of whether you say it's a matter of opinion, you cannot say that female artists as a whole group, which is ridiculous anyway, cannot paint, and that men can. You can't say that, especially he is judging this on market value, which is very strange to me. Like, okay, if you don't like their style, if you don't like their their content. Yeah, I don't like many female artists' work. Yeah, I don't like many men's artists' work. I don't like many artists' work or style of painting. But the issue is not divided into two genders. It's not divided into gender per se. Yeah, so his argument was that women's art don't sell for much on the market, and he says the market is always right. This is absolute bullshit, because I had a look at the stats and his work doesn't even sell for very much. So, you know, what are we talking about? Lots of people have said that he's got to this age where he doesn't care anymore, and therefore he can say what he likes, and that also there are many people who feel the same, but they just don't want to stick their head over the parapet. If you're one of the people who haven't stuck their head over the fucking parapet, I recommend that you do and get hastily shot down before you go about spouting anything else. Such bullshit nonsense. Anyway, as I've said, my biggest problem is the fact that it's been given a platform, that it's been given this opportunity to be discussed as if it has any potential to be right at all. It's not. I just hate the fact that it's allowed for discussion as if, you know, in sort of under the guise of sort of academic discourse and, you know, allowing for interesting discussion and thought. It's not an interesting point that he's made. The fact that in history, women artists have been held back, as well as every other marginalised community, group, anything, have been held back over history and therefore have not got the same amount of back catalogue, the same amount of artistic precedent, artistic presence even. Still, in this society, we don't have that kind of the same culture that we have of like the great masters. And you know, people have been trying to show this and been talking about it and discussing it for like decades, like a long time, and all of a sudden he comes along and he thinks that it's fine to completely reject that and say something absolutely fucking ridiculous about this kind of comment is probably meant to invoke this type of reaction from people, from me, from other journalists, from other art historians, from people who are reading the article just on the off chance. It's going to create a reaction. I'm fed up, basically, of my gender, my issues, kind of the problems that I face as a woman. I hate that that is kind of used as some sort of academic debate by people whom it does not affect and will never affect. I don't know if you guys agree with me. I think it must be similar. I'm not sure. I just don't know. Is the experience similar? You know, when you've got obviously these issues that I love talking about, I love discussing, but when somebody from outside of it uses that as a way to get a reaction, as a way to seem avant-garde or off the wall, I just think it's really fucking pissing annoying. And it is important that it has been brought to light, because it just shows really that we have got quite a long way to go before things like that are just not okay. So, you know, hopefully this video is the start of, you know, a new chapter. I've got a new haircut. I can go for this. It's all, we can power through. We can get some good topics. Anyway, basically, I hope this hasn't been too rubbish and boring. If you do want to read the articles, I'll put them in the links. I'll put them in the box as per the usual.